How's it going? We're going to be taking a look at some Pokemon rumors and also some Nintendo Direct rumors, so let's get started right away. Starting things off with this post right here from Stealth40k, who said the following. Multiple game journalists have traveled to New York. Steve from GVG, Blessings from Kinda Funny, Andy from VGC, which is just different, media outlets, also teased his travel by showing his Nintendo passport holder. My friend Roger Base is also traveling. starting to get this feeling Nintendo is having a press event this week, which yes, they did have, because they did come out and actually, they actually just posted some new information about Tomodachi Life, Living the Dream. So there was a bunch of stuff about that. For example, one thing, which is that they're going to have limit you from being able to share images from the game, which is kind of crazy. I think it's really anti-consumer. Like, why do they care what people want to do with their images that you take screenshots in the game? Seems really weird. But yes, so we do have indications. I think Stealth40k actually already talked about this, that there has been hints at specifically Nate the Hate saying that we are going to be probably getting a Nintendo Direct. I think it was like next week, right? So the 5th of February is the rumored date. So I thought we'd just, again, come in and say that. So yeah, that's that. IGN also asked different analysts about Switch 2's performance over the holidays, and they all thought it did just fine. They agreed 2026 will be a really good year for Switch 2. That's up to be seen, because most of the people that I do communicate with and talk to, and this is a mix of people who love Nintendo and people who hate Nintendo for, you know, their practices or whatever else. And every single person has pretty much just been like, yeah, I'm kind of indifferent. I don't really care about Nintendo games right now. And I was always kind of confused, like, why? And the general answer is there's just nothing. There's just nothing to look forward to. Nothing seems exciting. They haven't really, I mean, besides Tomodachi Life, which for me personally is not really a game I care for, but I know it's a massive fan base who love that game. But there's just nothing really in general to look forward to, though we do have things coming in the horizon, so there's always that. But that was the first thing. The second thing, if you guys haven't already seen, Pokopia promotional material has been confirmed, showing off a few more Pokemon, like we got Clefairy, we got Mr. Mom Jr., Mom Jr. right there. We got Chansey, we got, we got Chansey, we got Sylveon, and Jigglypuff as well. And also Lucario, Greninja, and Flareon. So a few more were shown off, so that's pretty much that. Moving on, we have this one right here. Now, this is from Ball Guy. Now, if you guys do not know Ball Guy, he is kind of an insider. He has information. He does leak stuff occasionally, or hint at stuff. And he did post two things very recently that were a bit surprising. And I spoke about this yesterday, but I want to go into it a little bit more coherently today, because yesterday was a very long video, and this is more for the people who didn't have the time to watch the 2-hour-long little podcast thing we did yesterday. But basically, he posted these two pictures, right? So somebody asked him here, Flop asked him, Ball Guy, since we're a month away from reveal, could you drop a new hint? And question mark, right? And then he came through and he posted two pictures, a picture of Pokemon Blue version and a picture of Pokemon Green version, which is really odd. Now, the first thing some people thought was, does this mean that we're going to be getting a classic collection, like a collection of the old Pokemon games coming to the Switch 2 as like a backwards compatible, not backwards compatible, sorry, but like a virtual console, right? Like on the Nintendo Switch Online, getting these old games back, because it is the 30th anniversary this year. Literally next month is going to be 30 years since Pokemon first came out. So they're going to be celebrating it. And last time they had like a celebration, which was 20 years, right? When they celebrated their 20-year anniversary back in 2016, then they actually released virtual console releases of Red, Blue, Green, and Yellow, right? I don't know if they all came out at the same time, but they came out in they were all announced and pretty much around that 2016 timeframe. Was all the Gen 1 games. And I think in 2017, 2018, we got Gold and Silver as well. But the main point, Gold, Silver, Crystal. But the main point is just the fact that, like, they already did this for the 20th anniversary. That's the big ones. That's the decade anniversaries, right? Like, the 25th anniversary was also, they had like some celebrations and stuff for that, but it wasn't as big. This is the big one. 30 years is a big milestone. So obviously they want to do a big thing with that. But the question is that what he's implying here, or is it something else? The other thing this could be related to, if it isn't a classic collection, I've seen some people like Yoriden, who, for example, said, I feel like there's a lot of indications that the colors are blue and yellow, but maybe something like this. And he's talking about the potentially that maybe what we're looking at right here, that he's maybe hinting at the color theme for the actual box art. Like, basically, think about how like the logos and stuff look and the colors they have for different games, like Scarlet and Violet, right? If you look at those two games, you know what they look like. They have a specific like color theme. If you look at, for example, Pokemon Silver, which I'm going to grab real quick. If you look at like Pokemon Soul Silver as an example right here, you'll see that this is like the theme of it. It's silver theme, but also kind of like blue, right? That was the theme of this one. Whereas orange was the orange and kind of goldish looking colors were used for like orange, yellowish kind of colors were used for Pokemon Heart Gold. So the reason I'm trying to say this is because he's seemingly implying here, Jordan, that it is possible that what we're looking at is maybe the potential color scheme for actually Generation 10, right? For Pokemon Winds and Waves, because we know that that is supposed to be the name of these games. They could always change it. That's always a chance. It's always a possibility. There's no guarantee that's the case though, but it's always a possibility, right? That they may end up just changing it somewhere along the way. But that's all just kind of up for debate at this point. We'll have to wait and see if anything does come from that. But that's pretty much what he says there. But he did have another point here, which is blue, yellow, green. And he's looking at some of the paintings that were inside of the Scarlet and Violet buildings here. Because yes, sometimes they do hint stuff. They do hint stuff through like objects in the games and stuff like that. But who knows? Again, like this person also says, I think this has more to do with Gen 1 games on Switch or something related to Kanto than Gen 10 colors. Because I generally don't know how it would make sense to have two cool colors instead of the usual ones. Which is true. I do think this combo would be way better. I think the combo of actually blue and green would be way cooler for Winds and Waves than them doing like some kind of red and blue again, because that's kind of like, this is way cooler in my opinion. Like this is way more interesting, but that's just me. Maybe I'm crazy. We'll have to wait and see what comes from that. The other thing though we do have to talk about is going to be another post that came out from Ball Guy a while back that I completely forgot to take a look at. This is like 10 days ago. They posted this picture: in case of emergency, break the glass, V, and then a monkey that's holding its mouth. So I didn't understand this at first, but apparently this is literally him implying that there's voice acting in Generation 10, because V for voice acting, right? And he's holding his mouth, you know, voice acting. And he's saying ready. So are you excited and ready for it? But it's not just that. He did say though here, not 227. Now, what he means by this is 227. So the first 2 is February, the second month of the year. 27 or 27, that's 27, which is the Pokemon Day anniversary. That's the day when it happens. So when he says not 227, he's most likely saying that we will not see the voice acting actually revealed on Pokemon Day. Like they will reveal the game. Gen 10 will be revealed. The name of the games will be revealed. Maybe the starters, like if you guys remember for Scarlet and Violet, the way the Scarlet and Violet was revealed was essentially they if I remember correctly, right, they just had like a cinematic like kind of trailer, or like an animated trailer, sorry, a 3D animated trailer, and then we just got to see, if I remember correctly, if I could be wrong here, but I think I remember this correctly, I think we got to see the starters kind of, or we got to see like some Poké Balls and then the logos, but that was about it though. We didn't really get to see much else. We didn't get to see a lot. And then we got a few more trailers later down the line that showed off more gameplay and stuff. So I'm guessing here he's implying that we're not going to actually get to see any voice acting gameplay in this reveal on Pokemon Day. Like we're not actually gonna get to see that, which is really worrisome in my opinion, because I would kind of hope that they would reveal that. Like that's kind of like, I don't know, maybe I'm a little like, maybe I'm a little crazy, but I do feel like it would be better if they did show that stuff off very early on, because you want to get people excited, you want to get people to have trust in this game being something amazing. The last thing you want to do is to give people low expectations. Actually, no, maybe it is a good thing. Maybe actually, no, maybe that's a good thing. Rather, what I'm trying to say is, if you are doing something this big, this is the kind of stuff people want to see. And I have a fear that if you don't show something like this and people see the reveal, they might have a feeling like, oh, we're just getting the same shit again. There's nothing special about this. And especially after like a lot of the criticism for something like Legends ZA, this game really needs voice acting. It really needs it. And this is, I feel like, something they should kind of reveal early on to get a lot of people to feel like, to kind of put their pitchforks down and be like, okay, you know what? Hey, okay, we're not going to get overhyped about this, but they be cooking. They be cooking a little bit better. So I'm just hoping they reveal the voice acting right off the bat, just so we know that it's there, so we don't have to think about it or argue about it or whatever. But it's all just a matter of time, and we'll tell over time if that actually comes to fruition. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. That's all I can really say about that one. However, there was another post by somebody else. And in this case, I think it was Amashinu who said Gen 10 will have voice acting, source ball guy. And then I think here he basically also said, according to the same source, voice acting won't be revealed in the first trailer. Same stuff we already talked about. We're only expecting the usual overworld reveal, which will reveal several sources claim will feature significantly upgraded visuals and the new Pokemon starters. So nothing major or crazy is going to be revealed from that, but again, it is what it is. Moving on to the next thing, though, we do have a 4chan post, which I thought we would actually go through real quick, which says the following. So sit back, relax, and let's see what they're talking about. Decided to go against my better judgment and leak this. Black and White 3 to be announced Pokemon Day 2026. I'm sorry, dog. Black and White 3 sounds like the dumbest thing I've ever heard. I'm sorry. Black and White 2 made sense, okay, when it came out. Black and White 3 makes no sense to have a Black and White 3 right now. It's just so far gone. People who never played Black and White 1 and 2 will not have a clue what it's all about, and why would they buy it? I mean, again, listen, this is Pokemon. This is not like something that's going to be at the level of like Baldur's Gate, where the number of game doesn't really matter, and the previous games in that series are so old that, you know, you could play that game without having played anything prior. But Black and White 3 would kind of be, wouldn't it be kind of directly tied to Black and White 1 and 2? How would that make any sense? It just feels so like far gone at this point, and Pokemon isn't Baldur's Gate, so they're not going to pull off something of that grandeur where people would be willing to, like, I mean, again, people are going to buy it still, but it just seems a little odd. I just highly doubt this would be something that would happen. But here's what they say, though, which is ZA combat. Phasing out traditional turn-based combat in general. I doubt that's going to happen. Abilities will still be active. Starts in Castelia City as a sort of tutorial zone. Okay. Professor G gets us, serves the professor role. Okay, so we're just doing the same thing as like Legends ZA, all right? He has established a Pokemon, okay, well that's like, which is sort of a Neo Team Plasma, which a bunch of other traders are part of. Starters are Snivy, Piplup, and Litten. All three get, so is this like supposed to be a Legends Unova? Is that what he's trying to get at here? Gets has developed a way of manipulating Pokemon evolutions so certain Pokemon evolve into a new species. Special evolution gimmick. Story involves working against a mysterious antagonist, later revealed to be N, who has begun fighting your group. Okay. Map is mostly free roam. However, in the beginning, you are given a choice to go either north into the desert or south down to Sky Arrow Bridge. Once you make your decision, you can't go the other direction until certain objectives are met. That sounds like very counterintuitive. No megas, no legendaries normally obtainable throughout the story. Your decisions can affect the ending. Good and bad endings exist. Victini plays a major role. Hilbert and Hilda return as the final boss, revealed they have been working with N. Charon, not present in the game, but heavily alluded to. Bianca is a mother, and her child has a major role in the Sky Arrow Bridge segment of the story. Minor cult exists across the map, dedicated to various Pokemon: Braviary, Durant, Volcarona, and Sigilif. These cults sort of are like factions you can support or work against. Good ending results in the death of Jetsis. Bad ending results in the player character being named Jetsis' new heir. Major characters revealed to be a Zoroark. That's all for now. Do with this what you will. This has got to be the most like fan fiction thing I've ever read. Man, I read a lot of rumors. I read a lot of bad rumors, but this has got to take the cake for being like both the most bad and most confusing rumor I've ever read. I'm not even going to bother putting much of anything else into that. Sorry, whoever wrote that, listen, I love it when people make these posts, but like, this is so far from like a possibility at this point. Any of the stuff that was just mentioned, it just sounds so far-fetched. Like, listen, I'm not saying we couldn't get a game like that is a Unova Black and White 3 or a Legends Unova type game. That's definitely a possible thing we could get in near future at some point. 2026? No. Just not happening. 2026 is the Gen 10 year. They need a Generation 10. They need a next generation. They cannot keep going off of Gen 9 forever. Like, Gen 9 has already ran its course. It's already been delayed this generation. I mean, maybe not delayed, but Gen 10 already is kind of late. It's already 1 year later than it normally would have come out. So, again, the cycle is out of loop, and they need to get another new game out because Pokemon as a whole is overall, like, it's still making money. It's always going to make money. It's Pokemon. But Pokemon does need the games to push the medium to newer audiences all the time, right? If they cannot rely on nostalgia forever, because people who love Pokemon, we're a limited quantity. Every day, people, new people are born, and people also, unfortunately, get game ended by life, okay? Not the way to put that. My point is that, like, you cannot rely on nostalgia forever. You need to also make new games that will, you know, like attract a new audience, that are going to be new people coming in to play these games that are, you know, a younger generation of people and not just the old heads who are around forever, because you need to replenish your lost forces, people who maybe are kind of done with Pokemon or whatever. You need to get new people into the franchise. And for that, you do need these big new generations, because that's the kind of stuff that gets into people's faces and gets people excited, right? You need that. You actually need those. So, I mean, I digress. I guess it is what it is. But it do be a little bit like, it do be a little bit confusing, though. I ain't gonna lie. But it is what it is. I guess there's not really much else I can say in that regard. But yeah. And the last thing I think we have is just this right here, which is again about Nate the Hate. If you guys didn't know, again, Nate the Hate is I think a content creator, but he's like an insider as well. And he came out and said that he made predictions for the first-party Switch 2 games in 2026. In a recent commentary, he shared forecasts for Nintendo's 2026 schedule, focusing on major first-party releases for the Switch 2, such as a new 3D Mario as a major end-of-the-year launch, which would make sense. Like a new Odyssey-type game is kind of what they do need. Generation 10 Pokemon as the other big festive season title. Of course, that makes sense. Xenoblade Chronicles 2 Definitive Edition, possibly a Nintendo Switch 2 edition, which could come to Switch Sports and Pikmin 4 or others. Large-scale DLC for Mario Kart World, and a remaster or remake of a Legend of Zelda game. As always, this is an unofficial information. Let's wait until Nintendo's Direct. But yeah, so again, this all has to do with the fact that we do have a Direct that most likely is coming next week, or potentially just sometime in February we're going to have one. So it's just a matter of time at this point. We're just waiting to see if anything does crop up, but we'll have to wait and see how that turns out. But yeah, I think that's it for today's video, guys. If you did enjoy, then drop a like down below. Thank you all for watching, and I'll be seeing you guys in the next one. So peace out, and bye-bye, ladies and gentlemen.